friends, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel, Sunset Bow Tarot. So today I am going to be doing a deck declutter. I've had some decks kind of piling up in my purgatory box, and I decided that it was ready to go ahead and start moving some of them along. So hopefully some of these will be of interest to folks if they're interested in purchasing these. Some of them I will be putting on eBay because they are out of print or valuable, and I will be putting the information on the eBay listing in the description box down below. Others of them will be available for sale just by contacting me, so I will also put information on the pricing and how to get in touch with me down in the description box. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first deck that I want to talk about, and you may be aware already that I was thinking about letting this one go because I did talk about it in an episode of 3 Girls, 1 Deck. This is the Spolia Tarot. This is the second edition. I still have the little guidebook. This does not actually fit in the box, and I got a little rip in it trying to stuff this inside the box. It does not fit in the box, so it needs to go separate, but I still do have a little white book for it. The box I did open from the bottom, so the seal isn't broken on the box. And this deck, like I said, I talked about this a little bit in 3 Girls, 1 Deck, but it's a deck where I absolutely love the artwork, but I just don't honestly feel strongly enough connected to it to really hang on to it. I find that the cardstock is difficult enough for me to work with that I don't find myself reaching for this deck, but it is incredibly beautiful. It's a collage style deck, but it has a really incredibly artistic style of collage that was done on all of these cards, and it really is just an absolutely lovely deck. It's been in fantastic condition because I have used it, but not a ton, you know, and it also comes with some additional cards as well. So for example, it has all of these different astrological cards, and it also has some elemental cards as well. So it is a rather, you know, large chunky deck. There's a lot going on with it. It's really beautiful, and this is one of those ones that, because it is out of print, it will never be reprinted, and it is in some demand. I am going to be putting this one on eBay auction just because I don't know how to price it fairly. You know, auctioning it off is a way to, you know, let people pay what it's worth to them. So again, this is the Spolia Tarot, a deck with artwork that I absolutely adore, but that I honestly don't find myself reaching for, and find it a little difficult to work with because of the cardstock. And, you know, I think it's just time that we go ahead and part ways. One thing I'll note is that the box is in pretty good condition. Most of the boxes for any of my decks that come in a tuck box, the box will usually be in pretty good condition because I don't keep decks stored in the tuck box when I'm using the deck. I almost always have a bag for a deck that comes in a tuck box, and so I usually just put the tuck boxes in storage, and so they tend to be in really good condition just because they've been stored rather than being used and opened and closed and reopened. This one does have a little bit of a dent on the corner of the box. The cards aren't affected by that, but aside from that, the tuck box is in really good shape, and again, the seal is unbroken on it. So next deck that is, again, one that is out of print and in rather high demand, so I will be putting it on eBay. This is the Amethyst Oracle. This is by Jessica Bott. This is an oracle. I absolutely love the artwork of this deck. It's really, really wonderful. Again, I do have the tuck box for it. The tuck box has been in storage, so it's in really good shape. And this is lovely artwork, but I found that of Jessica Bott's oracle decks, the one that I find myself reaching for more is the Phenomena Oracle. And we did just talk about that in the most recent episode of 3 Girls, 1 Deck. I talked about the Phenomena Oracle and how much I enjoy using that one. And this one, I don't know what it is. It's just, I think it's just the keywords. Like, there are tons of cards that I really like, and then there are other cards where I don't entirely know how to use them. Like, I think it's just, despite loving the artwork, it's the keywords aren't super usable for me as an oracle. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't land in quite the right spot for me from a keyword standpoint. So despite the fact that it is a really wonderful deck, this one, again, out of print, Jessica has said she will never reprint it. She doesn't like this artwork anymore. You know, she is working currently on a new version of her Idiosyncra deck, which is going to be called the Jessica Tarot, and she has put out the Phenomena Oracle, which I really love, that I tend to reach for more often as an Oracle deck than this one. So I am going to be letting this one go, but it's a really, really fun, wonderful deck with really just delightful artwork, and you know, it's a great one. And again, this is one that is out of print, will never be back in print, and is in some demand. So this is going on eBay. Next up, and let me just make real clear what I'm doing here. I am going to be letting go of a Majestic Earth Tarot. This is a backup copy. This is not my main copy of the Majestic Earth. I decided that I didn't need the backup copy anymore, but I still have my own copy of the Majestic Earth that I love and use, and you know, just a real favorite deck for me. But this is a backup copy. This was purchased as one of the factory seconds that she was selling. This was the 10% off factory second, so that it has the little one drawn here. So this is the ones with the most minor flaws, and to be perfectly honest, I have no idea what the flaw even was in this deck. Like I have literally no clue. I cannot discern an issue with this deck or any of the cards in it. It seems just like perfect to me, but regardless, this was sold as a 10% off factory second, so I do want to make that very clear to folks, even though, like I said, I can't see what the flaw is. I haven't been able to find it in going through the cards of this deck, but you know, this is a wonderful deck, again, out of print, again, you know, has been in some demand, and it's just honestly really beautiful. This deck feels so powerful to me. I love, love, love using this deck. Oh, the other thing to note too is that this is not the Kickstarter exclusive edition that had the extra cards in it. This is just the regular non-exclusive edition that did not come with the extra cards. But again, you know, this is a deck that isn't always easy to get your hands on, so I will be putting this one on eBay, and there will be a link to the listing down below. But this has never been used. It's, you know, it's, as far as I can tell, it's a perfect deck. So don't know why it was discounted, but there you have it. So another on the list of sort of slightly more in demand out of print decks that I am going to be selling on eBay, this is the Augenblick Oracle. This is a companion deck, obviously, to the Augenblick Tarot, which I do have. I love the tarot. I use the tarot. I just never reach for the Oracle for whatever reason. And I've sort of gotten to that point where I've recognized that even if two decks are sort of made to match each other, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to have both if I don't use both. So in this case, I am going to be letting the Oracle go. It's a great little deck. It's just a really sweet size, and very cool. Comes with a book. It also came with a custom bag, which I have in storage. I will find it and include it before I sell this. But yeah, this deck, again, out of print. I don't think you can get your hands on this at all anymore, but it is a fun deck, and if you have the Augenblick Tarot, this is a great aesthetic companion to it. So I am going to be posting this one up on eBay. So a final kind of treasure that I am going to be letting go of, these are a set of Jamie Sawyer's tiles. These are the tiles that are of the Spirit Keepers Tarot Vitruvian edition, and you know, these are beautiful handmade tiles. They're really, really wonderful. I will be including, along with them, the bag that I keep them in. I will also be including, they all come in a wooden box, so I will repackage them in the box before I let go of them. And then they also come with this magnifier that you can use to actually, you know, because these are such detailed cards, the magnifier helps to magnify the details on the cards, which is really cool. And I think, you know, I know Jamie, I believe, is still selling these, but I don't think she sells the magnifier with them anymore. So this is a made to match magnifier that will also be included. So again, this is the Spirit Keepers Tarot Vitruvian edition. It's just in tile form. The reason that I'm letting go of these is because I have other sets of tarot tiles that I reach for more frequently. Specifically, I have a set of Jamie's Rider-Waite-Smith tiles. I also have the Charmcast Tarot, and I have a Spirit Keepers Tarot, the Revelation edition, in the form of a deck. And this just, there isn't really a place for it anymore in my collection. Like all of those things combined mean that I don't really use these or reach for these in any kind of meaningful way. So I am going to be letting go of these. And again, it's all the tiles, and I am going to include this matching bag that I got for them, as well as the wooden box that they all fit in, and the magnifier, which I don't believe you can get anymore. I will include this copy of the medium white book, which I got off of Lulu. So this is the medium white book specifically for the Vitruvian edition, and I now have the full book for the Revelation edition, which is going to be the only version of the Spirit Keepers that I still have left in my collection. So I will include this with the tiles as well. So next up, I do have this first edition copy of the Dream Vision Tarot that I am going to be letting go of. So the first edition of this, oh, I think I have this upside down. The first edition of this deck, you know, it is really beautiful. I will put it back in order, by the way. I always put decks back in order and check on all the cards before I send them off. But, you know, this is a stunning deck. This first edition had the holographic edges. It's really gorgeous. The artwork is really beautiful. The reason I'm letting go of this one is because I actually got a copy of the second edition of the Dream Vision Tarot, and I just prefer the second edition. I prefer the size of the cards, I prefer the edging, I prefer the very slight changes that she made to the artwork for this deck, this version of the deck. So I just don't really need my first edition copy anymore, because I don't think that I will be reaching for it ever. So I am going to be letting this one go. So again, this is the first edition of the Dream Vision Tarot, and this one I will include, there's an electronic guidebook that this one came with. So whoever buys this, if you want the electronic guidebook, just let me know and I will email you the copy of it that I have. But you know, lovely, gorgeous deck, and I love it, and I use my other edition of it all the time, but I just don't need this first edition copy anymore. So next up, I am going to be letting go of my Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. I've had this deck for a couple of years. This is actually the Kickstarter edition of the deck. This is available as a mass market deck now. So this is, you know, this is actually the indie edition of the deck as opposed to the mass market edition. I will be including with this, it did come with a custom bag that goes with the deck, and it also came with a custom spread cloth that goes with the deck. So those are things that didn't come with the mass market edition that did come with the Kickstarter edition. So I will be including all of those extra goodies. But this is one of those decks where I really love this deck. I've enjoyed it. I have worked with it, and I've had a really good time with it. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's sort of like, I feel like our time is over, you know? It's just not a deck that I find myself reaching for recently. And, you know, you do the thing where you put it in the purgatory box and you see if you miss it, and I haven't missed it. So, so I have decided to go ahead and let this one go. And again, this is the indie edition of the deck. It does come with gilded edges. And again, I will throw in the spread cloth and the custom bag that came with the indie edition when I sell it. So next up is a deck that I got new, and I've got to be perfectly honest, I haven't even gone through this entire deck before deciding that it wasn't for me. This is the Pastoral Tarot. It does come with a custom bag. It comes with like a really pretty little guidebook. You know, this is a US Games production deck, and I was really excited about this one. You know, I really love a scenic deck, and you know, my house is like super embarrassingly cottagecore, so this deck definitely seemed to be right up my alley. I do know that there has been some discussion and criticism of you know, the deck's level of diversity and those kinds of things. I honestly can't even speak to that, because when I was flipping through this deck for the very first time, I got to, let me find it, I got to the Judgment card, and like, this is just a hard no for me. Like, this is not for me. So anyway, yeah, that's just not for me. So anyway, I decided to go ahead and let this one go. So you know, this is just a perfectly brand new copy. Like, I literally haven't even flipped through any of the cards past the Judgment card. It's like in mint condition, but yeah, I'm gonna be letting this one go because, you know, there was just a hard no card for me in there that that I just decided I didn't want it. So anyway, that is the Pastoral Tarot. So next up is another oracle that I frankly don't use enough to keep in my collection. I'm just not a huge oracle user. What can I say? So this is by Celia Melisfiel. This is, here we go, you guys. L'Oracle de Reflets. That's probably like the worst French anybody has ever pronounced in the history of the world. But anyway, this is a really beautiful deck. This is the same creator as did the Tarot Renard, the Boo Tarot. She's a really wonderful artist. This does come with a booklet. It's kind of cool. It's French going one way and English going the other way. So, you know, it just has like little keywords for the different cards. This is part of an edition of 1400. So there is a signed and numbered card for the edition. This is a deck that is made of tea staining that has pen and ink drawing on top of it. So it's a really beautiful concept. I do have this back in order. I barely use this. This is, I mean, I've used this maybe 2 or 3 times. And it's really beautiful. But again, I just don't reach for it enough, and it is ready to depart my collection. I love, love, love the imagery of it, and I love this whole concept of, you know, the tea staining and the way that, you know, the inspiration for the card really came from kind of the random shapes and things that you get when you tea dye fabric or paper. And yeah, it's really beautiful, but it just isn't one that I reach for enough. So I am going to be letting this one go. And speaking of Celia Melisfiel, and this is going to break Heather's heart, I am also going to be letting go of the Tarot Renard. This is a fox-themed tarot. It's absolutely wonderful. I mean, there is nothing whatsoever wrong with this deck. It's beautiful. I do need to put this one back in order also. Yeah, I mean, this is a really lovely deck, but I just don't reach for it enough. The artwork is so adorable. It's so sweet. I love looking at this deck, and it just does not get enough use in my collection. And I am ready to let this one go. So anyway, that is again the Tarot Renard by Celia Melisfiel. So next up, I am going to be bumming Julie out a bit. This is the Star Tarot. This is the 2nd edition of the deck. So this is the one that comes with the matte cardstock. It has gilded edging, and it has no borders on it. So it's different from what the 1st edition of this deck looked like. But this is one that I totally bought as a result of seeing it during one of our 3 Girls 1 Deck episodes. And this is a really great deck. It's really beautiful. And the guidebook is really good. I haven't read the whole guidebook, but I read like a good chunk of the guidebook, and it's really, really amazing. That said, I've kind of realized that what I was drawn to about this deck was really the sort of like bright colors and kind of cosmic feel of the artwork more than the actual symbolism, I guess. You know, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. But I think what I wanted out of this deck, I ultimately ended up getting out of this deck, which is, like I said, bright colors and a sort of cosmic vibe to it. And so this one, it kind of lost its place in my collection, I guess. So even though it's a really wonderful deck, you know, I didn't work with it a ton. Like I said, fantastic guidebook. But I don't think it really has a place in my collection anymore. I kind of don't see myself really reaching for it on a consistent basis. So I am going to be letting this one go as well. Sorry, Julie. Oh, and I do still have the box for this, so it will be in its original box when I let it go. So next up, I am going to be letting go of my full-size Pam's Vintage Tarot. I do have the bridge size edition of this deck, and I really love that one, and I do use it. I have it in like a little tin that it fits really nicely in, and you know, it's one of the ones that finds its way into my bag pretty regularly if I want an additional deck in addition to the Morgan-Greer that I often carry around. But I rarely reach for the full-size edition, and I decided that I just didn't need both of them. So I will be letting go of this tarot size edition of the Pam's Vintage Tarot. And this is just a cool, very aged, vintagey looking Rider-Waite-Smith. It has most of the titles removed. So, you know, for example, the majors just have the number. They don't have the title at the bottom. Same with the quartz. So it's just kind of a simplified, aged, basic Rider-Waite-Smith is what it is. It's a cool deck and I love it, but again, I mostly use the little one, so I don't really need the big one, I think. So in a very similar situation to the Pam's Vintage, I am going to be letting go of my full-size edition of the Morgan-Greer, and just to be clear about what this is. This is not a recent printing of the Morgan-Greer. This is a vintage printing of the deck. This is from like the early 90s. And I did do a video comparing this early 90s edition with the more recent editions of the deck. So I will put that video up in the cards so you can see how this vintage edition is a little bit nicer, in my personal opinion, than the recent full-size printings of this deck. It has a little bit more of the image around the edges, like not a ton, but there is a sliver more of image on this one. And it also is just less saturated, I feel like. So the colors look less kind of like muddy, I feel like, in these older versions of the deck. So you know, this is a really wonderful deck. But again, the thing about this is, if I'm going to be using a Morgan-Greer, I'm going to be using my mini Morgan-Greer in a tin. Like, I use that deck all the time, and I never ever reach for the full-size one when I'm just like reading for myself at home. So so I decided I could let this go. It does have the box. The box is very, very beat up because, again, this is like a 1993 printing of this deck, but I do think it is nicer than the ones that you can just get, you know, from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever nowadays. These older printings, in my opinion, are significantly nicer. The cardstock is really beautiful on them, and all of the colors are just like a little less just bleh, I feel like. So yeah, this is a really nice deck. So I am going to be, again, letting go of this vintage full-size Morgan-Greer. So finally, still on my for sale list are some decks that I put up in my last declutter video that haven't sold yet. So I have 2 copies of the Naked Heart Tarot. This is, I believe, the 2nd and 3rd editions of the deck, and they are slightly different. I'll refer you to my last declutter video if you want to take a look at how these 2 editions differ. But this is a really wonderful deck. Again, it's one that I am surprised that I plan to let go of, but I haven't regretted it for 1 second since I put these ones up for sale. So this one is, yeah, just one that I loved for several years, and then we just kind of fell out of love, I guess. So anyway, again, these are still for sale. I still have this copy of Crazy Sexy Love Notes for sale. I feel like this is actually out of print, but this is like a Hay House deck. It's an affirmation style deck. It has really cute artwork. Again, I'll refer you to my previous declutter video to take a closer look at it. This is the 4th edition of the Prisma Visions. This is the edition that has the Winged Boar card in it. So this is just an earlier edition Prisma Visions. I still have a more recent printing of the Prisma Visions on the matte cardstock. This one comes on glossy cardstock, so I'm just letting this one go just because I have a new copy where I prefer the cardstock. I'm also letting go of this copy of the Gaian Tarot, and again, this is previously available for sale, so I will refer you to my last declutter video. But this is a really beautiful deck, and I got this because I love Joanna Pell Colbert's artwork in the Herb Crafters Tarot, but I didn't end up connecting to this one as strongly, so I am going to be selling again my Gaian Tarot. And then finally, I do have a full-size Dust to Onyx Tarot. You know, this is a stunning deck. I, again, do have a copy of this deck, but I have the travel size edition of the deck, so I am going to be selling my full-size edition. And finally, because I always do a freebie, I am going to be giving away this copy of the Angels and Ancestors Oracle. I did put this up for sale in my last declutter video. It didn't sell, and you know, I think that this deck is so inexpensive to buy new. There's probably no point for anybody in actually buying a used copy of it, because you know, the shipping for me to ship this is more than it is to just like get it from Amazon new. So I am going to be offering this as a free deck to the first person who orders another deck from me and tells me they also want this one included. So again, this is a freebie to the first person who buys another deck from me and tells me they also want this one. So yes, again, this is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle, and I will again refer you to my previous declutter video for a closer look at it. So that's it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me while we took a look at this list of decks that are going to be leaving my collection. For those decks that I did put on eBay, they are listed down below with a link to the eBay listing if you want to take a look at those. For the ones that are just available for a set price directly from me, they are all listed down below with the price, and also the sold status of them. So I keep that very updated, by the way. So, you know, check the description box down below to see if these decks are still available. And then there's also information down below on how to contact me. You can just reach out to me via email. My email is sunsetbow@gmail.com. So again, it's just sunsetbow, all one word, @gmail.com. That's the best way to reach out to me about purchasing a deck. And yeah, and again, the angels and ancestors will go free to the first person who buys another deck and says they want this one. One final plug that I do want to mention, if you have at any point been admiring this pretty firefly pattern spread cloth, I made this, and I have a little shop where I sell things like this that I make. So there will also be a link to that down below. It's called Sunset Bow Boutique on Etsy, and I sell really pretty spread cloths like this. This is the other side. They are reversible, as well as deck bags and other fun things. So if you're interested, go ahead and give that a gander as well. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out with me while we took a look at all these decks that are going to be leaving my collection, and have a great one. Bye-bye.